Hello, folks. We have started doing some very basic elementary surface design in CATIA. This is activity number 3 for week 4 of the CAD course in winter of 2026. And I'm going to be using generative shape design, the split, the icon that you see in the split right there in the generative shape design. I want to show you that that's kind of different from what the split you already saw in the part design. I will make this model for you, and then we're going to do a few things, okay? So let me start with a part file. And if you're not in generative shape design, if you're in part design, you know how to get there. You go to shape and uh, generative shape design. I also want to remind you that within the part design, there is an application called wireframe and surface design. This is the baby version of that generative shape design. So we're going to go to generative shape design and do our work right here, generative shape design. Now notice that in there, in addition to doing things with surfaces, there is a uh, there is a listen here a toolbar which says volumes, but it is there's stuff missing. This is not the same thing that we made in the last 2 3 weeks making solid object. This is called volume and it's very restricted. Okay, so let's say that I want to make this thing. So first thing I'm going to do is plane. I will sketch, okay, uh, something. That's something being a rectangle. Exit, and then and click on this. It says, where is your sketch? So here's my sketch. And let's say that we make this thing 60 or 80. There we are. Okay. And keep in mind that this sketch is in part body. It is not an ordered geometrical set, but the volume that it created is in ordered geometrical set. Now we're going to shell this out. Here's a shell. You're familiar with that. Faces to remove. I want to remove this and that and that. And I want to give it a thickness of, let's say, maybe, let's make it 5 millimeters. See how it looks like. There we are. Okay. If that sketch is bothering us, we can always hide it. Good. Now, what I want to do is I want to create a plane in this ordered geometrical set. So let's make a plane and offset from that. Let me move this thing up a little bit. There we are. And on that plane, I want to create that surface, the surface. So how do we do that? We select this, sketch. Now this one is going to be in the ordered geometrical set, you can see that. So why don't I make a, for example, a rectangle, exit, and fill it, F-I-L-L, see that? Okay. Let me hide this sketch too so that it won't bother us. All right, so what happens if I use this split here? If I click this split, it says element to cut is that object that I created. Cutting element is this fill, this surface right there. And you say, okay. It says, do you want to keep both sides? Or one side, that side, or the other side? You can see that. Or both sides. Keep both sides. And then we say, okay. And I'm going to hide this. So look what happened. It took that volume and split it right at that height with that plane. Okay? Now, I want to do something else. So let me go ahead back to the part design. Let me go ahead back to the part body. Okay. And I'm going to make another plane. I'm going to make another plane. Okay. So another plane. Now remember, I'm in part body. So this other plane that I'm going to make is going to be, or this other plane is going to be in part body. So you click on it. Notice that there is in part body. It's not in the order geometrical set. And let me bring it offset from that, maybe a little bit further down so I can see. This plane is in the part body. It is not in the order geometrical set. On that plane, I will sketch. Okay, let me make I can make another big rectangle, but I'm going to make a circle. There we are. I'm going to fill it, F-I-L-L. There we are. Notice that this fill is not in the order geometrical set. It is actually in the part body. Now, first of all, if I try to use, let me hide this sketch. If I try to use the split here, click on it, it says element to cut, for example, this bottom piece, cutting element, that surface. Now remember, this surface is not in the order geometrical set. This surface is in the part body. So you select it and say, okay, notice what happened is that it cut something, but it didn't cut the object. It brought some surfaces, created some surfaces. For example, I can hide this and I can hide that. So notice that it created certain surfaces and cut that look. So the moral of the story is that it cut something, but it's not what I wanted it. The moral of the story is that if you use this, if you use this with a surface that's outside of that geometrical set, outside of that geometrical set, it won't cut the volume for you, but it creates the surfaces that somehow are related to that volume. You've got to be very careful when you use this because you may not get what you're looking for. Okay, and a volume is really not a solid object that you're used to. So be aware of that, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Uh, if you want to know more about these, you really have to practice by yourself and find out what's happening. Okay. All right. Good luck.